Every time, every time. Hello, hey y'all. We are back, episode 5 with Dope Sessions. Woo! Woo. I'm gonna get an audience button in a minute. In the meantime, y'all just clap it up for me. Can you please do me a favor and share this just right away? Let's right off bat go ahead and do that. This is gonna be a really great conversation. And so I feel like as many people as can need to see this. So if you could do me the favor and share, share, share. So I just want to go ahead and introduce my guest today. I am so honored to have her here on my show. I told you, if you saw my post, I started design about 12 years ago. And in that time, I met a young man who was telling me kind of about other designers. And one of those designers was my guest today. And I admired her greatly. I thought her work was amazing. And she kind of, she inspired me to do, what I'm doing now. So, without further ado, in this wonderful, beautiful full circle moment, ladies and gentlemen, Yolanda Morant.
Hey, girl, what's up?
Hey,
Hey, what's happening, man?
how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. And how are you?
I'm doing great. So, Yolanda, I don't waste no time. Go ahead and let us know how to get a hold of you.
Oh, awesome sauce. So, I believe in making life simple. So, you can find me on all social media platforms under Wild Praise, WILDPRAIZE, like zoo, ZE. While IG, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X, formerly known as Twitter. You can find me on all those spaces. Just
That's
type in
called
Wild Praise. I'll come right out. There's only one.
that's right. That's called good branding. Okay.
That's called good branding, baby.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us, a little background.
So I'm born and bred. Most people would never believe it. I'm actually from Denver, Colorado. That's where I was born. Denver, Colorado. I come from a country mama and a city dad.
Mm,
And my mom was a country girl, raised in a small town called Poplar Bluff, Missouri, which is about 2 hours outside of St. Louis. So I grew up with these two both sides of the fence. And then my dad, my bonus dad, his name is Ralph. He's from LA, a true LA guy.
yeah,
So I grew up, with my dad driving real fast all my life.
yeah,
So I'm born and bred from Denver, Colorado. I'm a church kid, and so I grew up in church all my life. I probably, would have been born if that would have been her choice. And I grew up singing and in music, and most of the people I was telling someone today, most people don't believe it. I grew up, playing with Barbie dolls and Transformers. All due respect, but I am a all girl, amen. So
yeah,
I grew up playing, but I grew up playing with both things, right? And so I played with GI Joes, and I played with Barbie too, and um, I climbed trees. People don't believe that, but I used to climb trees, and my mom had to beat me into a dress. And then I grew up, there's just so many parts of my life. I grew up singing quartet, which brought on the real, really girly part. So people see me, they be like, they could never imagine me climbing a tree or this, that, because I'm super girly, nails, hair, but all these really parts came from my mom and my aunties. Um, and just life just kept progressing. And then, as life moved forward, I became a business owner, which we'll talk about. And my life has been a very interesting journey.
yeah. You sound a little bit like me, actually. That I'm, the girly girl and, lipstick, lip gloss, all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's crip and
Right, 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 right.
about that action. So yeah. So um just tell me a little more about just kind of how you got into design, because not like I read a post that you had the other day, you tagged me in it, and I appreciate that. That, there was not too many girls that were in design. So what kind of motivated you to get to do what you're doing?
So actually, this is true. When I started doing graphic design, number one, the truth is I wanted to be a artist, like a cartoonist, which you don't really hear that word much anymore. But I
Mm,
wanted to actually draw, right? Because again, I was kind of a tomboy. So I grew up watching Spider Man, right? Spider Man. I grew up watching Spider Man and
mhm,
Spider Man and Thundercats. Y'all know nothing about that. Well, I grew up watching Spider Man and Thundercats, and Transformers, and stuff like that. So I really wanted to be an artist. That was my real desire, but the desire fades. Kids want to be 800 different things, and so as I kept growing, I really want. Then I ended up wanting to be a hairstylist. And long story short, I just the desire. It's really a God given gift. I'm a kingdom girl, and it's really was a God given, like a God given feeling. And I went to the church I was a part of at the time called Kingdom of Faith. I went to the administrator, and it just happened just like this. It's no like super special story, I feel like, necessarily, but I went to the administrator one day and I said, "Can I help with the church program?" It's like this feeling overtook me, and I said, "Can I help with the church program?" And she said yes. Her name is Renee. She's the sweetest lady. And my pastor at the time agreed, and so I was working in the church basement. But I think a lot of us had this kind of story. I was working in the church basement at my church, and I was going to school. How I did all this, I don't know, but I was going to school full time. I was working, and I was working at the church, singing all over town, right? And
mm,
so I changed my major to graphic design, and that's how I started. And my pastor let me test and try as much as I could take. But he never always say this about him. His name is Bishop Quasi L. Smith. He never let me quit ever, no matter how terrible I was, no matter how many times I failed. He never ever let me quit. He would yell at me every week. He would yell my name across the church by my whole name at that. Yolanda Quincella. He's the only person that calls me by my middle name. And so he would call my middle name, and I say, "Oh God," he calls, "Come in here to close this door. Why did you do this again, girl? Didn't you see this?" And that's how I started. So the truth is, when I posted that day, I didn't even know girls did graphic design. I didn't know one girl. Shout out to Sparkle Robinson. She's in my city too. She was dibbling and dabbling a little bit, but I didn't know any girls who did graphic design at all. So that's kind of the gist of my story. That's how I got started. But yeah, I only knew guys, and since I had always worked for men, that's where I got my start. I worked for a guy named Different. He's a DJ named Different, and he was the DJ in town that did all the big parties, and he had a graphic design company, and he was my first and only boss.
Oh, first and only. Okay.
Yeah,
Period.
he's the only graphic company I've ever worked for.
That's good. I haven't had that experience of working for another. I definitely applied. Don't get me wrong, but yeah.
But never
So
worked. Yeah.
so tell me some going. So okay, we gonna be real for real in our
Yeah, yeah, we
conversation.
can talk straight.
So as a girl in this industry, how do you feel? What do you feel are some things that maybe you've experienced that maybe our male counterparts have not? Or maybe ways that you feel like you had to stand out, or just in whatever you feel like as a woman, how do you feel this industry has either helped or hurt or hindered you?
Um, First, let me say everything I say is nothing. This is not hurt. like
Yes.
this is just my story, and so I love everybody. Before I say whatever I'm gonna say, but I'm never gonna say anything that's gonna put anybody under the bus. Okay.
Yeah.
I think as a black pretty girl, because I think I'm pretty. I mean, humbly though, but I
And
think
you
as a black pretty curvy girl, I've experienced things like people saying, if you do this for me, I'll do that for you. That's a probably light way to say that. I don't think males, I used to not think that guys experience that, but they actually do. Like me and you know that, right? It used to just only come one way, but now it comes all ways. But I've experienced a lot of out of pocketness, a lot of inappropriate, gestures, someone asking for favors based upon this or that. Some people saying, I'll keep you working forever if you do this for me. So yeah, it's been, since been a little different. Definitely them feeling like because you're a girl, you don't know as much as a guy. When respectfully, sometimes we know more than the guys do.
Right.
Um, yeah, like respectfully, but we just been in it for a long time. I've been doing this 18 plus years. Feeling like I should, they talk to you differently than they sometimes they again. Me and just been in this for a long time. We all, her and her, I, and some other creatives. We all talk very often, so we learn. A lot of things happen to guys too, but they talk to you differently because they feel like you won't say anything back because you're a girl. So they try to talk you out of your rate, or that they're shocked when you have some level of intelligence or some level of will or some level of like no, I'm not going to do that. That those are some things on the lighter end that I've experienced.
And when she says lighter, that's for real lighter.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely saying light. Like I'm definitely just trying to keep my job.
Look,
Yeah,
and I
that's
don't care about mine, okay? So here's that's not true. But for real, like a lot of it is like things that where men seem like they would like try to get you to be, make it seem like they're attracted to you or like they
oh
want you enough.
yeah.
They want
Oh
you to do
yeah.
something, build their brands, or
Oh yeah.
do the graphics, or we can do this together,
Oh
and
god, yeah.
they end up.
Oh yeah. Oh, they try to get with you. Let me just let's just put this out here. Since her and I gonna be straight, we can talk as long as you want to, Jess. The truth is, I'm a very nice person. I know what my friends say. I don't have to say that. I don't care about all the like. If we listen, it doesn't matter if you work for the president or if you work for, I don't know, Nick Cannon. I'm gonna do my best. I try to do my best to treat everybody else the same across the board.
Right.
So you coming to me, I don't care how fine you are.
No.
Let's just, we can get the business straight, and I'm always gonna be cool with you. But don't think because you come over here and you find, and so I'm supposed to like do extra work for you. I mean, what she's saying is so true. People
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I do this for you. You know what I'm saying? I think you can sing. You know, you just so," and especially again, respectfully in church, in the kingdom world, like, you're a blessing to the kingdom. Well, I know that. My mama told me that.
Right.
If that's how you really feel, right, and you're just encouraging me, I'll take it. But don't use that as a tactic to get free work.
Listen,
That don't
listen,
work.
God put it on my heart that if you do this project for me, then please stop pixel pimping, y'all. Please
Please.
pay. It's
Please. And it
okay.
don't matter. Let me just say this too. Since we don't talk fair, we may get in trouble later, but and it doesn't matter who you work for.
No,
I respectfully, I like Nick Cannon, okay? Regardless of the other stuff, I respect the guy's hustle. But if you come to me saying I work for Nick Cannon and if you do this for me, I can get you. No,
I have yet to have the exposure payoff.
no.
I have yet to have that experience. So, Pastor Mark Moore, I talked about him last week, and then he posted again this week. But he was talking about exposure, like, in that some people feel like exposure is gonna, like, working for exposure, meaning I will do free work, whatever my ability is, in exchange for you promoting me on your platform and giving me quote unquote exposure, which is supposed to give me more people or access to more people who potentially will pay. The reality of the matter is that is not most of the time how that happens.
I say
I,
99%.
yeah, even though don't get me wrong, there are opportunities that I feel like you should at least see how you can connect in the situation. Be proactive in it and not just feel like that person is gonna take you to Hollywood, because that's not the case.
No.
But there are situations where you can at least expand your network on your own in
Yes.
exchange for whatever this opportunity is. So don't get me
Yes.
wrong, it's possible, but 9 times out of 10, that's gonna be the 10th time, and even then, that's very rare.
It is
So
rare. I think it only happens with people, me and Juma, which we both know, from our league of creators, right? We always talk about its value. So when you value something, you'll tell people about it. When you really enjoy something and you understand it and you respect it and you value it, you will tell something. Shout out to people like Michelle Prather, the late and great Kevin Lemons, who really I've been doing work for them for a long time. And he used to say we'd be somewhere singing. He'd say, hey, where's Yolanda? Come over here. Put your number in their phone. She needs to do work for you. People who value you. But I agree with you. Most often people may not value it to that capacity. So they just they do what they do.
yeah, it makes you wonder, like, well, what is it that you, especially now, they'll be like, well, I could just go to Canva and do, no, what I do and what Canva does is two different things, sweetheart,
They
and
are
you
two
know
different
that to be
things.
true. So, I mean, no disrespect to those that use Canva, but the reality of the matter is that person probably had a design eye before they got to Canva at all.
Hmm.
So, my thought is, how do you position yourself just in conversation? You have expertise, you have people like the late Kevin Lemons, who did give you great value and
Yeah.
referred you around. Like, how do you establish your, and this is also something I noticed about you, you're not afraid to network. I see you talking to certain people that I didn't even know that you would know, like, what, you not like, I've seen your comments, on their posts, which is good to me because that means you know how to get yourself out there. So to an up and coming young lady, what how would you what would you say to her, knowing all of these things, knowing all of these barriers? What would you say to her in how she's positioning herself and how she networks? What advice would you give?
You have to overcome the fear. So people don't know is I can actually be. I may not be as shy as I used to be, but I can be shy. People would never think that about me at all. Right? So I'm on stage and it's like Sasha Fierce kind of thing. But I can be kind of shy. But there are moments when you just know you won't get the moment back. You won't. It may not happen again. I remember I saw Karen Clark in the airport about a year ago. She was
Mhm.
in her hometown airport, right? And I wanted to speak to her because as much as I've seen her as much as I've probably been on the stage with her, right? Same background, standing in some choir or something like that. I had never spoken to her. And uh over the years, people say, "Oh, they don't want to be bothered, just leave people alone." But I thought, what is the likelihood that I'm in her airport, a gate down from hers? This may not happen again. So I took the plunge. I walked over to her. I greeted her. I let her know I didn't want to be in her space. I just really admired her and asked her, could I take a picture? And she said yes. And I didn't know what was going to happen from that moment. I knew her stylist went to my church at the time, but I didn't know that he saw me earlier that day. And I didn't know that he was going to tell her about me. My point is sometimes you just don't get the moment back. I'm sure I'm going to have to eat these words later. So you, in that moment, you have to overcome it. You just have to say, okay, if you want this moment, you gotta take it. I'm not saying every time I see somebody, I hand out my card. To be honest with you, it hasn't always went like that. Sometimes it's people saying, "Hey, don't you do graphics? Are you the same girl? Are you Yolanda?" Like, well, I present the same person. They are the same person. You got a card? Yes. Or I'm in an Uber car and someone's asking me what I do for a living. And I say, I do graphics, really. And I explain and they say, you have a card? Yes. So I think it's more about being prepared, being willing to tell your story, whatever your story is. More people can probably relate to you than you realize. Not forsaking your integrity at any time, any day, because there are more people connected to each other than you'll ever realize. And have I could say tons of things. I think some more very important things is having a really strong, active village in your life. People who are where you are, people who are where you want to be, and people that are right where you are. You need people to push forward to. You need people that hold you accountable. People in your space that are not jealous of you. They don't even do what you do. I got friends, they don't do graphics. They cook. That's not what they do. But they hold me accountable, or they push me forward, and they have conversations with me. If you're a Christian, you're a believer, I think you should have a people. I got this from Clinton. Clinton told me that he had a prayer partner team, people that prayed over his business. If you're a believer, if you believe that, if you subscribe to some type of faith, I think that's really, 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 really important, because you need people that can hear what sometimes you're not hearing. And the other thing I think is really important without putting out our creative group is you really have to have people around you that do what you do and they can talk your language. I was okay when I started. I jumped up by 10 scales when I became a league of designers. It just makes a difference. And you have to be able to walk through that process. So when I first became a part of this league of people, I cried every day. Every time I would post something, I cried like, oh my God, they said it was terrible. Dang, what do it again, Yolanda. That ain't it, girl. And they hurt my feeling today. But I wanted to get better. So, without taking up a long time with this question, I think it's really important to understand there's always going to be somebody greater than you forever as long as you're living. So the moment you feel like you've maximized your greatness, it's probably time for you to check out of here, because there's always going to be somebody that's whether it's. I remember me and my friends were going through the we were in the line. We were in the drive-through at a chicken place called Williams Chicken in Houston. And we pulled up to the window, and there was this young girl waiting for people to come through, and she was singing. And my friend Chad Brawley said, this is a good lesson. There will always be somebody that's greater than you. There'll be some little girl at some church that don't nobody know about, and she'll sing you under the table. So it's a lesson that there'll always be somebody greater than you. You got to just be okay with where God gave you and where he placed you. But if you don't have people around you that are pushing you and sharpening you, you'll stay the same way. I can tell plenty of stories. I'm sure as sure as Jess can, of people who started 10 years ago and they're designing the same way they did 10 years
The
ago.
same way, yeah, getting
Same way.
stagnant.
They're
Yeah.
not excelling. They don't know what's going on. You ask them about X, Y, and Z, they don't know. They're still pushing the same things. They're still working in Photoshop 1.0. I mean, you just got to be willing to grow.
Look, they got the CD still. They putting it in.
Listen, yeah,
Yeah.
that ain't it.
So Yolanda, if you don't mind,
Sure.
I have been watching you, and like I said, for years. And I know that sounds real like I've been watching. It's not like that. It's just as someone that we're in this league, we're in this group together. I
Yeah,
do see your
yeah.
growth, and I want to acknowledge that first of
Thank
all,
you.
that you have definitely grown exponentially, and that even though, like I said, you started before me, and I was inspired by you, I definitely see where growth has happened even for you, and to know some of the things that you have talked about as far as where you might not feel as sure, like don't worry about it, you got it.
Thank
There are
you.
people
I
that like
appreciate it.
genuine, I observe people genuinely like cling to you, like you, and
Thank
I think it's great, right? I think it's dope. So for me, if I were to give any expertise you did not ask for, but I do want to
you. Take
give,
it.
is that I think you have a show that you do late night for creatives
Yes.
that I think you need to take it on the road.
Really?
Uh-huh. I do. I think that first of all, there are not many girls that are speaking to other girl creatives
Yeah.
from a mentorship perspective. Another person that I love dearly, and I know Fatima, I mean, I do, Yolanda does as well, is Fatima Burke,
Absolutely.
who hands down, Fatima is a hidden gem. Y'all go look up
Yes.
Fatima Burke
Yes.
right
Very,
now,
very much so. Very much so.
but not for long. The same for you is that the more you put yourself out there and the more you stand solid in it, is like, it's not going to be a problem at all. So I think that, especially now that you're also, and we'll talk about that in a minute, um, developing and working on putting out your music and
Yes.
showing yourself from that perspective, I think that
Yes.
it'll be easy to create an experience that will give both to will speak to
Mhm.
both.
Yes.
Because I'm literally, like you said, your bonus dad's from LA, my bonus dad's from LA, my actual dad's from
Really?
South Central. But
Wow.
you're from Denver. I'm from Reno, Nevada, which is real small, and you won't expect girls like us to be there. Like so many of your experiences, I hear you say, there are girls out there that will relate to, that might not know that there's somebody out there that's just like them, that's up and coming. And I think that that's,
Wow.
you speak to creators, but I think in specific, I feel like for women is where, like, to maintain the femininity, even though you said you like Thundercats and all that.
Absolutely.
I'm about all of that. Thundercats,
Absolutely.
Ninja Turtles. I think that's just
Absolutely.
the nerd in me. Okay, so I'm about all of that.
Yeah.
I think that we are, especially for whatever reason, church creatives are this unique breed, if you
Yes.
will, of
Yes.
people,
I agree with that.
in that we have had to learn how to kind of be able to express ourselves in a way that is not, oh well, that's too worldly, or oh that, like for instance, there was in this group, I made a post about this certain tour that's out.
Yes. Yes.
And I won't say which one because there's several,
Yes.
thank God. A
Yes.
certain tour. And the design, someone said, oh yeah, that looks real secular. I like it, even though it's a gospel tour.
Right?
And so I was like, well, what does that mean? And someone else was like, well, that it just means it doesn't look, or they said it looks like, it doesn't look like holiness. I said, well, what does that mean? It doesn't look stuck up and all this stuff. So for
Wow.
us, I think there's some type of like dichotomy where we have to learn how to be creative and relevant, but
Yes.
also reverent to God, and to, not to be too crazy or crass, or, you
Yeah.
know, out, like, even with me, I've been debating on this word dope for a while, because I don't want nobody to think I'm dealing with drugs or anything like that. But I was like,
Sure.
no, that's not that at all. Dope, if is a colloquialism. It means good, fresh, cool,
Absolutely.
excellent, right? So I said, in branding, I have the opportunity to change this word to mean what I want it to mean. And so as church creatives, I feel like that's also something difficult to do. But also, I think we're at this point where we're realizing, as long as it's not inappropriate, there's still a way to expand your creativity. So I feel like if you led something in that regard, but also even in music and somehow blended that, I think that would be amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll take it. Yeah, I would love to. One reason is so funny because someone today, people have been saying to me I should do a podcast, and I'm the most non-controversial person. Like I don't really want to be in the controversial space and da da da. But I think there are some things that are just unavoidable. Actually, I'm sure I'm going to be held to that. So, I think the truth is that the more confident you become in yourself, the more you care less about what people think.
Very true.
And I think design is what you make it. I don't know. I've heard people come to me and say, I want a flower, but I don't want it to be churchy. I don't. I'm gonna be honest with you tonight. I don't know if I always know what that means. What do you mean you don't want it to be churchy, right? Now, if you say you don't
Especially,
want a cross in it, that makes sense. But in today's design world, I don't know if there's always a need for an actual cross, right? Unless you ask for it because whatever purposes, right?
right,
But I think something can be. I don't know because when I started designing, my thing was I wanted to design like a boy because men seem to have this or seemed to have this very strong execution in design,
yeah,
but
like a Drew, yeah,
yeah, like just like dang. But I
yeah,
wanted always to have this female touches, which I feel like I have had for a really really long time. And then I started doing more faith based work. I started really doing faith based work, and then I was doing hip hop, which can be more free sometimes because there's certain lines you can cross.
yeah,
But I think the truth is, the more free you become of yourself, right, the more you lift those limitations. But sometimes the people we do work for, people have these very interesting limitations, right? I have a really good friend named Alan. He always says, "What is actually appropriate? What
right.
is actually now? Should you be designing a flyer for, let's say, a revival, and the girl has on a bikini? Okay, that doesn't
Mm,
fit, right? That's not quote
no,
unquote appropriate. That doesn't fit. But the flyer, this particular flyer we were talking about, I don't know if it made me think R&B. And so I don't know. I don't want to be all over the place. I just know sometimes I personally struggle with why church always has to be this one certain way when we don't ask R&B to do that.
right,
Right? We don't ask country to be that. We don't ask this person to be that. But church, it has to be like this. It's kind of weird when, if we're creative and in the faith-based sense, or in Christian sense, we serve this big creative God. Why does it have to be like that? I went to the zoo for my birthday. Yeah, I'm a super big kid, right?
yeah.
And I saw so many different animals, and so I'm like, well, how does this relate? Because there was nothing that was the same. We were walking through where there were fish, right? Like where there it's like the sea and that kind of thing, right? None of this stuff was the same. But yet we want uh-huh. But yet we want
What is
everything else to
it?
be the
Yeah,
same. It's
yeah,
very odd. Okay.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think it's odd. I don't think anything should be the same. I think there should be room for creativity, room for space, room for different things. So even in this creative league that we're part of, I'm like, oh, y'all just tell me this okay. Because sometimes you feel like it's just the same thing. Everybody wants the same thing.
yeah. And I want to just kind of speak to even what you were saying about that somebody sets a standard of what church graphics should look like, but the reality is it's us that makes that standard. As we
Absolutely.
as we get inspired by each other, as we kind of look at
Absolutely.
outside sources, we are the
Absolutely.
ones that are setting that standard. And so to me, maybe it's within us, it's a resolve within us creatives that as we move forward, that we don't, I mean, I don't think that anybody's going to do anything that's disrespectful or out of decorum. You know what I mean? Or anything that's going to be disrespectful to anybody's ministry. Mainly because number one, I want to keep my coin. So number one,
Yep.
number
Yep.
two,
Yep.
but because I honor and reverence God, I'm not gonna. I speak for. I'm a believer myself. I'm not gonna put anything out there that's gonna compromise even how I'm viewed as a believer. So to me, like you said, if God is creative, if we are in the image of our Father, as creatives, we look like our daddy, right?
Absolutely.
So, so I feel like the standards that people have are just what they think it should really
Mm-hmm.
be. And that the truth of the matter is that creativity probably should not have too many parameters to it, especially in church,
Nope.
because if I do one more stained glass flyer, I'm gonna be mad. Okay, I'm just saying. Uh, my friend D says nothing should be the same. She's absolutely right. I got someone, Matthew Hill. Hello, praise the Lord. God is good. Blessings from Memphis. Memphis.
Yay. Yeah, nothing should be the same. But
No.
I mean, we can go down again, whatever lane you want to go down. But I think the other part that happens is I was telling someone, a client tonight, which I love her. Before they say that, I won't say her name, but I love her. Okay, so she don't think I'm harping on her. You have to. I said to her, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've probably spoiled a lot of people because I just did all the thinking for you. But the truth is, you have to be a part of the process. So I think sometimes what happens is because our exposure to certain things is not as big. Right. So I was telling somebody this today. I was telling Juma this today. I said, most actually the church is still, I think, new to having a graphic designer.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, Sister Sally was the secretary. She did whatever needed to go in the bulletin or on the bulletin board. And if
Yeah.
you were a larger church, you have larger churches, you have more money, right? More liquid, more access. You hired a company, which sometimes, no disrespect, probably was a Caucasian company. You hired a company from the outside. It's true, they would be Sister Sally, right? So you hired a company from the outside to do this work for your church. They created possibly in some cases, they created the identity for your church. Oh,
Yeah.
this is good, God. They
Yeah.
created the identity for your church, right? So when we saw things like TD Jakes, that was bigger than life because nobody knew anything about creating a logo for your church, right?
Yeah.
Somebody got that off a clip art or something like that. And again, a lot of times people hire companies from the outside. Rarely did you have somebody in your church who was the graphic designer, especially in my opinion, in Black church.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
like your smaller churches probably like under 700, the 400, 500 churches. You didn't have that.
Yeah.
So to me, in my opinion, it's still kind of new. So I was telling Jim that I said, I think we have to sometimes give clients grace because I think in truth they really don't know. No one's ever asked them about their identity, what your brand looks like. They don't even sometimes they don't even know what that means. What do you mean you want me to pick a color?
Right.
What
I
color do
don't
you
know.
think it is? I don't
Yeah,
know.
for Jesus' blood. I don't
Right?
need
I
a
don't know.
dove.
So we picked a famous color, purple.
Oh yes.
Right? But there's so much more. So we're
If it
seeing
ain't red
people like
church, it's
Jay,
purple
you know
church.
what I'm saying? We're seeing people like Jay Lynn, who gives us all joy. So we're seeing people like her who was stretching the creativity of Matthew Stevenson, right? We're seeing all these people who are trying different things from different angles. But I think for a long time we were just in this one space
Yeah.
doing it this way. Like it's only gotta be this way. Hmm. But God is so much bigger.
Because that speaks to even race for sure. In that I feel like the seal logo came from somebody watching TBN and fell in love.
Yep.
I said I don't want to see no more praise the Lord logos. And even then they're not even this though our white counterparts don't have the same logos anymore and their church names are
No.
and
No.
it seems like our trend is to follow their trend. And
Oh, that's so good.
instead of giving culturally what we are meant to have and how we are
Absolutely.
meant to express. I think that
Absolutely.
we feel like with following that trend, that gives us access to more money or more, more affluence or things of that sort. But like you said, there is a TD Jakes who doesn't look anything like
Mm-mm.
what that
Never
is
has.
and has never established himself in that way. or a Paul Morton, or you know what I mean, people that, or even if you will, Bishop Gilbert Patterson, like people like that are trendsetters in our. I'll even say Bishop. Oh Lord Jesus, West Angeles, Bishop Blake. Like these type of people set a trend even within our traditional churches, and that I think the more that you have someone like a Matthew Stevenson who will allow their creatives to kind of
Mhm. Mhm.
express themselves in that way, or Jamal Bryant,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
that we are given that liberty, and that we are kind of pioneering what that looks like. But I
Mhm.
think it's our responsibility to make sure that we we pull and derive from our own cultural standpoint, and not just because everybody's calling themselves the brick church or city on the hill church, or the flood church. We don't have to be that just because they're that. If we're,
Absolutely.
if we're greater first, second, third Emmanuel on the rock on the side of the mountain, that's just who we are. But let us
Absolutely.
do it in a way that is culturally ours. I actually honestly had
Absolutely.
that thought this morning about how we are losing, and I think this is just from an American standpoint, we are losing ourselves culturally in a way. Hi, Lisa. Um, Losing ourselves in a way culturally because we're trying to hold to standards that honestly we set ourselves anyway. They be trying to tap into us. So
Absolutely.
so to me, I feel like once there's a mindset shift and an understanding in that we set the precedence, first of all, it's God that gives us inspiration, but we set the precedence in how that's presented. I think that a lot of that will change. And that the value of creatives won't be just, oh, you do my flyer for $25, and where there's other churches, our counterparts have paid staff, like,
Yep.
and other, other bigger black churches, right? But
Yep.
once we realize that that is who kind of makes the church pretty, if like makes us presentable, then I feel like there'll be more value in that regard.
Yeah, we definitely lack the value. Oh, this is so good what you said. It's kind of strange. Me and some friends are always talking about this. How even musically, we just keep trying to be something we're not. This is not this is no shade. I'm not necessarily the CCM girl. That doesn't mean I don't think it doesn't have the right to be here. Like, doesn't mean it shouldn't be a part. But I just don't get kind of why we keep trying to do everybody else, and then when they come do us, then we do us, and then we go back to it. It's just weird. It's
Yeah.
like, be okay with being this, right? Be okay with, I'm a gospel girl. I'm not. I love R&B, but that doesn't. I love it. I'll go. I love Jodeci. Amen. I love SWV. Amen.
Listen, do you understand that the church is responsible for 90s R&B? If you watch
Completely.
if you watch R&B Money and you see the lineage and kind of the genealogy of how this stuff happened,
Completely.
church kids all throughout.
Completely. All church kids, all responsible, right? But that doesn't
Hmm.
mean I was meant to be an R&B singer.
No.
Right. And so I think a lot of times we get this weird identity, like it's okay. It's okay if that's not what you were meant to do. Me and my friend were having a really good conversation, and he basically was saying to me, there's just some things that people just are not meant to do. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right.
So yes, you can sing R, and this is not about me, saying whether it's wrong to sing R&B like that. I'm just saying, yeah, you can sing R&B, but do you have the stability to do that, right? So yeah, you can do, I don't know, motion flyers, but do you have the ability to do what it takes to take this thing to the next level, right? So I think a lot of times people just do these, like, we just keep trying to be something we're not,
Yeah.
instead of understanding that black people do things so well.
Yeah.
We are the best in sports. I got this. This is not my actual quote. This is my friend Alan's quote. We're the best in sports. We're the best in entertainment. We're the best in fashion. But we
Yeah.
always try to trade for the other people. I don't get that.
You know why? We think that that's where we get the money. That's where the compensation happens. But the truth of the matter is they tapping into us and making the money that we
Absolutely.
once we understand and retain that value, that we understand that that's we set the precedence, then our asking changes, our negotiation changes, and what we think we're valuable, how we're valued at changes as well. And I think that we're not too far from from whatever revolution has to be, to where we're like, oh no, like I feel like I have been now purposed to focus on how culturally uh church media, black owned media, women owned media looks, and that it's culturally centered around this. And that I've heard
Wow.
several people say, well, the white people this, the white people that. And I'm not concerned about that, because look at how many times we get, and this is, let me tell you something. This is not a we hate white people speech. That's
Sure,
not that.
not at all.
Is
No,
that
not
we love black people, and that that we are often like given the short end of the stick of stuff that we are the pioneers of.
absolutely.
Think of
Absolutely.
all the different artists, and so you're talking about, maybe I don't want to do R&B, I want to sing gospel. But I'm the opposite. It's not that I want to sing R&B, but I think like, would my sound even fit in to gospel? If I'm singing about Jesus, my sound is more quote unquote neo soul, more
Mhm, mhm,
experimental
mhm,
R&B. You know what I
mhm,
mean?
mhm.
It's weird. So even though I can like the best of them, that doesn't mean that's my zhuzh.
That doesn't mean that that's what you do. Ooh, that's
Yeah.
so good. Nope. And I
So
think people have a really hard time with that. Everybody's, and I love her. Shout out to her all day long. I love Lillian. I don't care what
yeah,
nobody say. I
yeah,
love me some Lillian Lloyd.
yeah.
But everybody's not Lillian,
No, I know I'm not. I be forgetting stuff.
right? Everybody's not Lillian. Just so people don't know the secret to her sauce. The secret to Lillian's sauce is she studies the Bible.
Yeah, know your word. Yeah.
And so that's why this girl can sing and ad libs for days and days and days and days and days. And I learned this from her. She not only studies the Bible because she's a gospel singer, right? But she also studies the song. She breaks these songs down. She breaks down the lyrics. But that's to say she puts in the work. But you got to have a different kind of, as you said, a sauce. You got a different kind of sauce on you to lay on the ground and kick
Mhm.
your heels. You got to have something different on you. And if
I
that's
can't
not what
believe
you
that.
have on you, listen, it's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Well,
Everybody's not Fantasia, right? Everybody's not Patty. Everybody's not whoever. It's okay. You don't gotta be the church down the street. Just be your church.
right. And I don't think people will receive it if it wasn't authentic. If you laying on the ground, if somebody else that's not Lillian Lloyd laying on the ground saying I should have been dead, I should have been cuckoo, we like, you probably are cuckoo and you need to get off the ground.
Right, get up, cause
Yeah,
got
everybody don't have
you.
that same.
Yeah, I certainly do agree with you. We just gotta do better. I just think we gotta do better at being okay with it. And let me say this, I'm getting better too. Right. So what I'm saying, I'm eating my own words because I used to feel some kind of way and but why you just gotta be okay. Man, you got to be okay with whoever God made you and however He made you and what He gave you. I used to say this all the time. You the big church and you're the smaller church, right? And you're trying to do what the big church is doing. But the big church has millions of dollars.
Right,
So if you have a 500 seater, you have a 500 member church. There's nothing wrong with that. It's going to be really difficult for you to do what TD Jakes is doing.
right.
There's millions of dollars coming through that place. And I don't go to TD's Jack's church, but I'm just saying, and it's coming from different spaces and places. He has books. He has he has a movie production. He has this. He has this. He has that. And he's been doing ministry. I'm 45. He's been doing ministry for 40 something plus years.
Yeah,
That's a long time to make a lot of mistakes and then fix it.
yeah. And it didn't start. He didn't start a mega church. He was the
No, he did
smallest.
not.
And here's the other part people don't hear is when he moved from Virginia to Houston, it was like 50 families that moved with him.
Wow.
So yeah, that's what I heard Sarah Jakes talk about. That she said there was people that moved with us. So it wasn't like they
Wow.
just did it on their own and from scratch. Is that there's a lot of things that you don't know the background of, that you're
Absolutely.
expecting to be like them just because that's what you see. And that's another part
Absolutely.
about um understanding church and or just branding really, period, is that we feel like once we see the final presentation, and then if we feel like that's something that's surmountable, something I can do, we don't see the background and the back end, and that there's a whole production
Nope.
team, a whole audio visual team. There's a whole this and this and that. They don't see that stuff. And so I feel like if you're ever going to be someone that's interested in doing these things at a grand scale, you need to first work in the background and see
Oh, absolutely.
what it takes to even put on, even on a small scale, excellent production.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to serve. So
Yes.
people may say, "Well, you do work for this person." Yeah, but people don't know. I worked at my church for years, and and I didn't get anything. I was going to school full time. I would get out of, I don't know, whatever time I started school or whatever day, and I would be at school, and then I would get on the bus and I would go work as a para or whatever I was doing, working for the schools, however I got that job. And I was working at the school, and then I would take the bus back, and I'll be at the church until late in the midnight hour, right? And then I do it all again the next day.
Right.
And then I was singing praise and worship too. And so I was serving and serving and serving and serving and serving, and then I served, and that times 100. Right, and then I heard someone Stormy say this, the mentor, I don't
Yeah.
know, talking about Stormy. And so
Yeah. Low
yeah, I
vibration.
heard her say you got to serve your way, and that's the truth. So what she's saying is true. You can say, well, y'all do work, yeah, but it wasn't always like this. There was a day when someone paid me $25 for a flyer, and I was happy for that. I didn't have
Yeah.
no business. No one knew who I was. I was saving stuff on, back in the day. I was saving stuff on disc, on a rewrite disc, right? Hoping I could get it back the next day. I didn't have
Yeah.
a computer. That's the real truth. I didn't have a laptop, right? So I chose this laptop with everything I have because I didn't have a laptop. I would get up early in the morning and go down to the campus and stay at the campus when I wasn't at the church until the campus closed.
Mhm.
That's how I started. I didn't start with some luxury story and my dad brought me this fancy computer. No, because every computer he bought me, I broke. Because I was always dumping a whole bunch of stuff on it that didn't belong there, right? Back in the day, way back on the day, you know what I'm saying, in dinosaur land, of fate of MySpace used to have these little bitty dolls. I don't know what these things were called. And there was these little bitty dolls that you
Yeah.
don't even know where I got them from. I would sit in paint and repaint the dolls and then cut the dolls out. And that's how I perfected cutting. It doesn't happen overnight. I didn't know it was gonna be open. I wasn't even
No.
thinking about doing graphics then. It's just something I love, and I would sit in front of the computer for hours doing that. When the internet came out, oh my god, I couldn't. I'm not that old. I'm just saying, I did graduate high school in '97. The internet is not as old as we think it is, right? And so I'm just saying this
No.
is time and time and time and a lot of disappointments and a lot of tears and a lot of, like she said, people getting you to do something strange for a piece of change and I'm not telling you I did it because nobody can say that, but I am telling you it's not as simple as people think it is, though.
No.
Yeah, not at
Nope.
all.
Not at all. But you have definitely overcome, and you definitely have a story to
Thank
tell.
you.
And I thank you, and I definitely appreciate you. But I do want to get into, before we leave off of here, because I do want to try to keep it for an hour, but I do want to talk about your artistry, that you are
Yeah.
stepping out on faith
Yes.
and putting your album together. So talk to
Yeah.
me some about that.
Um. So obviously, you can tell I'm very passionate with what I do, and I love it. Right. I've been singing all my life. I mean, you're a singer, right? I sing sometimes. I don't
Yeah.
even know I'm singing. I know people like, how's that part? It's in my veins. I come from a musical family. My granddaddy was a preacher. And my granddaddy wasn't just a preacher. My granddaddy was a pastor. Again, in my mom's really small hometown, my mom and my aunties and uncles were singing together all their lives, until her last day on earth. You know what I'm saying? And my grandma auntie told me one time they were like the Jackson Five. She said we would have been the first Jackson Five if your granddaddy would have let us. So I did. That's just what I come from. I don't know anything else in truth, and I don't know if I want to know anything else in that department. So I
Right.
come from a musical family. I grew up singing in the choir to quartet. I've come through all the parts. quartet to the choir to praise and worship era to this CCM era we're at. Back to the choir, back to praise and worship. I've traveled extensively singing in Japan, teaching in Japan, which has been one of the really greatest blessings, joys of my life. I've traveled extensively overseas. You know, I've sang behind a lot of amazing artists. I've done things like The Lion King, not be in The Lion King, but when The Lion King first went to Broadway, they would come, things I feel like people kind of don't do anymore, but they would come to, they would feature what was getting ready to happen with his shows in certain cities. And so they came to Denver, and me and the friends I have that were part of this group called Uncle Wins and Eternal Life, we got to sing in the initial, testing of the production. Just some really amazing things God has allowed me to do. Carlos, what's up? So
Welcome.
really amazing things God has allowed me to do. Shout out to Carlos Hale, who gave me my first opportunity at Stella Weekend. He had an event called Bold, the Bold and the Beautiful, and so God's really blessed my life. You know, I think part of my reason that I want to actually do music, like I won't say want to be an artist because I am an artist.
You
One
are.
reason I really want to be like have a record is not for to be, like like I don't want to do it so I can be famous, because being famous is not as wonderful as it used to be in my personal opinion. So that's not as exciting. I don't think. I mean, I'll take the red carpets. I used to say I didn't want to do that, like it didn't matter. That's not true. I do want to walk on the red carpets. I want to do what my grandma, my granddaddy, and my mama didn't get the opportunity to do.
Yeah.
But the truth is, I think it's important to leave the world empty, and I just want to leave it with my mark. If I'm just very honest with you, and I want to leave. I want to tell my story, and my story is a very hard story, but it's a story of overcoming. I experienced molestation as a child, a lot of educational struggles. I was misplaced and placed into special education from the time I was in second grade all the way through college. By the time college came, I was cheating the system. That's just honest, because you learn how you figure it out.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I was 17 years old, and my teacher, my caseworker, are sitting across the table from my parents, and she's telling them we did it wrong, and we just figured it out when she's 17.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Jeez.
So,
Exactly.
I've never said it like that before, but that's how I feel.
Yeah.
And she's alive and living today. Her name is Sissy Nuanis, and she was crying, sitting across the table from my parents, and she said we did it wrong. We should have used music to help Yolanda learn, because I could absorb so much musically, right? I was thinking the other day, I was working on something today, and just artists would just download and download. I said, this has to be, God. But the amount of music that's just inside me, and they never compared the two. And someone said, well, what does it have to do with your music project? Because I want to sing about all of that. Today, one of my really good friends, and his name is Cedric Shannon, he said that he believes God wants to use me to bring back the consciousness, because I think something has happened where we've kind of lost our conscience,
Hmm.
right? We're not as conscious as we used to be, in my personal opinion, about God. We're not
Yeah.
as conscious as we used to be about people and spaces and places and respect and honor, right? And so I just feel like I want to sing about those things. The other side is, I don't want the legacy of my grandparents to die. I don't want the legacy of my mom to die, but I also don't want the legacy of people like Thomas Whitfield
Yeah.
and James Moore and,
Andre Crouch.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying, LaShawn Pace. And while they have people, I mean, James Moore's, shout out to his kids, Tamara and all of them, they have people that are living. But I just want to do my part, Jess. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If these voices, without me getting like real emotional, these voices influence my life. I'm a huge James Moore fan, and I listen to him all my life, just as much as I did the Mighty Clouds of Joy, just as
Yeah.
much as I do Shirley Caesar, right? Because she's still in the earth. So much as I do Shirley Caesar, just as much as I do Kirk Franklin, Kirk Carr, Virtue, Commission, Witness. I grew
Yeah.
up listening to all these people,
Yeah.
but I also grew up listening to TLC, which I love.
Yeah.
right? I also grew up. I love, good God Almighty, I love Jodeci.
Yeah.
Right, I'm a dirty Jodeci fan. I
That's
grew
just
up.
because that's just church. That's just,
It's just church. I was
just
listening
church.
to Casey today. I said, "This man can just sing."
Yeah. Casey can
Right,
sing. Yeah.
man. I grew. I mean, Tank came later, right? But there would be no Tank without Jodeci.
Right.
So how do you put all into one thing? I don't know. I love Judy McAllister, right? The Queen of Praise and Worship. I love John B. Key. So for me, it's really about making sure that these voices are honored, because I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of times when I mean just you can pull me back or say, okay, we got it. For me, it's like you don't get anywhere without honoring those people.
Very true. Yeah.
Right. Thomas Whitfield's birthday was about 2 weeks ago. Respectfully, I say always. I could not believe that I was the only person that I saw say something. And he would have been 70 years old about 2 weeks ago. How do you forget Thomas Whitfield?
Right.
Right? Like, how come there's not a space, which I'm sure she may talk to me offline about, but how come there's not a space where we're knowing this information, or where we say, oh, it's Andre Crouch's birthday and his sister just went on to be with the Lord?
Right.
How come there's not a space where I don't know, we send $1 to his church or something? I mean, I just think we get so caught up in all the junk that's going on that I feel like I sound like my mama, but all the junk that's going on that we forget about how we got here. You
Yeah.
don't get here by yourself. You forgot to
Yeah.
admit that you're listen, I'm not mad at Andrew Caldwell, because he took 15 minutes of fame and he expanded it to 8,000. Okay. So I don't know if I'm mad at that boy for
It's been
that.
a long hour, child. Been a
It's
long
been a
hour.
long hour. But I just think we forget about those that paved the way for us, whether it's your grandparents or whether it's the lady down the street. And just me personally, another lesson from a friend, this friend said, because we've been friends for like 25 years, is gratitude is always the way, right? You keep your ego low and you keep your gratitude high. And I just think for some of us, our gratitude is just too low, right? I should never come in your house and just open the door.
No.
Right? It's just disrespect. So I think when you come in a company, not that you bow at them or you worship them, but how do you come in the company of Vanessa Bell and disrespect her?
Right.
Right? That's my girl. Like, how do you come in the company of, I don't know, how do you come in the company of a Tremaine Hawkins?
Right.
Someone can say, well, she's this and that. Well, it don't really matter. My mom said, don't. I'm just saying what my mama said. It doesn't matter that you didn't like what she said. You still say yes, ma'am.
Right.
You still honor, you still respect. And for real, that's my real thing. So I want to do a project that embodies those kind of thoughts, those kind of ideas, a little bit of something for everybody. That's where I am.
Yeah. I was just thinking as you were talking about the Potter's house, the Potter wants to put you back together
Together
again.
again.
That's one of my favorite songs that I cry almost every time I hear it. Whoever sings it, just because the words sink in so you don't have to stay in the shape that you're in. That part to me,
That's right. And can I
that
say this other part? See, this is why I need podcasts. The other part is I'm not interested in singing music that's popular,
no,
because popularity dies. So you
yes,
just talked about the Potter's House, right? That song has to be at least 25 years old.
secrets, yeah, yeah. Oh, more than that, ain't it?
I'm 45.
70s for
Okay.
sure. Yeah, it's got to be early 80s. I'm 40 in 83, so
Wow. So it's got to
that's
be, so it's about 30 plus years old, right?
yeah.
And
Hmm.
today, the right person sings that song.
Fall
And
all out.
sometimes my friend said this today. Sometimes it has to be the right place, but sometimes it doesn't even have to be the right person.
Yeah,
You sing that song today, you're gonna be carrying somebody out of building. That
yeah.
doesn't always suggest a manifestation. I'm
I'm
just
literally
saying
sitting here like my eyes now, just thinking of the words.
the
Like
words.
ministry was in the lyrics.
Yes, ma'am.
It was in the lyrics, and I feel like that's why we love a Kirk Franklin or a Ty Tribbett because their words. A Kirk Carr. The
Yep.
blood still has miraculous power. Donald Lawrence, those words are what matter. It's like the last of that kind of deep, impactful stuff was
Mm,
with them. So I definitely, and I feel like this is why, because they honored Thomas Whitfield
yep.
and
Absolutely.
the likes Andre Crouch, the Hawkins, etc. They took a little bit of what was new and bridged it with what was traditional and made it relevant for everybody to connect.
And they didn't
And
air out their grievances.
no,
Right. So social media, while it is very wonderful because we get to do this and we met through this space, I think again sometimes people do things that are just not honorable, right? So
yeah,
right now, whoever Shirley Caesar is just not maybe in good company with, we're never gonna know that. Only the inside of the what did he say? Jessica said, only the inside of the inside, right? So again, there was no social media back in the day, so there was no way. But the truth is, you've never seen Richard Smallwood come online and say something crazy about X, Y, and Z person.
no,
You've never seen. Now, Kurt Carr is not as maybe not the same. He's a little bit younger than Mr. Richard Smallwood, but you'll never see. Number one, Mr. Kurt doesn't like drama, so you'll never see Kurt Carr come online and say, "I don't like what JJ did." So I think
yeah,
some of us just get too comfortable. This is not to say you may not like the music. That's okay, but I think there's a level of lack of respect
respect.
that
Yeah,
happens that you don't see. So, like the song, one of my favorite songs is "Thank You, Lord," right? Walter Hawkins. And what
same.
I love about that particular song, that video, is you have James Moore, you have Doug Williams, you have all these men and women in the same room, right? But nobody sounded the same, and they just passing the mic. And maybe after that night, they was like, okay, man, I'm good. We cool, but we ain't cool like that. But we didn't know. I'm not saying you should be fake. But
Right.
I'm saying that when they came to do the job, they came to do the job.
Yeah.
And maybe they fixed things along the way. But some of us, we just give too much commentary about things that are not your business.
Right.
Something happened over the weekend that we probably both know about with an artist. Listen, I wouldn't there. I don't is stop just saying y'all bringing too much kitchen table talk to the forefront.
Yeah.
And it ruins, you don't think it's ruining you, but let me promise you something. People are watching you, and the beautiful thing about social media and the bad is people can be watching you and you'll never know they're watching you.
Yeah.
And you can straight up talk yourself out of a job. Straight up talk, and that's not to say you shouldn't have an opinion. It's just where you place your opinion. So that's part of my thing too. It's just like just honoring, what I'm saying, these voices. Like, don't air out your beef. There's some people that will never know. We'll never know who X, Y, and Z. Right now, Kirk and Franklin can dislike whoever he's disliking.
We'll never know.
Nope. Sometimes it's okay to be silent.
Yeah. Because it just doesn't matter. Some of that doesn't matter. Carl says we just talked about that issue and truth came out about that issue. I have no idea what y'all talking about, but
Oh, okay. An artist was late. How can I say this? An artist was late to a event, and when they arrived at the event, the people had already left.
oh, well, that's professionalism. You got to be you fulfill your contract, your end of the bargain, just like you want them to with money and
Absolutely.
whatever else things you want. You have to do the same on your end and be on time and not well. Then there was another artist. Maybe we talking about the same one who canceled her concert, and that's not even gospel, but
Oh, uh-huh.
canceled her concert. That's the same thing, though. No matter how much legend that person is, people pay their money to come see
Yep.
you,
Yep.
and it's unfair to them for you
Yep.
to take their money and kind of throw it away like it means nothing.
And it's a
And not only
different
just their
day.
money, but their time, because you don't know where they are in this.
Yep.
It's the traffic, it's all
Yep.
this other stuff. You don't know what sacrifices people have made to come see you.
Yep.
There's a hip hop artist who she is the same with being late
Yes,
and
and she is.
well known.
Yes, she
And
is.
for me, I feel like you say this about your creative prowess and you have to have everything right. But after 20 something years, you should know your process.
Absolutely, you should, and there should be no reason that after 20 years you're still the unknown artist mother did
The same thing the night
right
before.
before. Oh wow. Oh wow. Oh wow. See, I think it's certain maybe okay, because I'm not judging about what happened. I think it's best it's how you deal with it.
How you deal with it.
Right. So let's say it happened. Let's say you hired me like tonight, right? I was 2 minutes late. Let's just be honest. I was 2 minutes late. So I said, Jess, I'm gonna be late. And I was just on the phone with my dad. I'm gonna come right through, right? And then you just be honest. But
Yeah.
maybe if it's a situation that's more to it, right? You get to the venue. You said,
I'm not, because I don't know
okay,
who y'all
get
talking
the
about.
shade.
You have to tell me who you talk about later, then I get it, but I
Then
don't
I
know.
get it. But I
Yeah.
I think a lot of times it's how you handle it. If you come online and we've seen this from other artists because we both want to keep working. We've seen this from other artists, and they're going off about the promoter. In my personal opinion, this is not directed at any one person. Wait until you cool off. That's number
Yeah.
one. Wait until you cool off before you come live. And yes, it is. It is dead. Like wait till you cool off. Because if you're not there, the people already know you're not there. We've
Yeah.
already missed it, right? Wait till you cool off. Wait till you talk to your team if that's available to you. If you don't have a team, talk to your village and say, this happened. What do I do? Because throwing the promoter under the bus, and again, I'm not talking about any specific person, throwing the promoter on the bus really, in my opinion, doesn't work out for you. Because one person can think Jess is amazing, another person can think she's terrible.
And that's true. There are people that that are like that now. Yeah.
Right? Somebody can think, I've never had a problem with the promoter. The promoter's never given me an issue, and somebody may have a different story. So
Right.
first, cool off, talk to your people, and then, especially if you are an artist, like you're a professional. Oh, and get
Get the
yeah,
chakras. First
it's,
of all, don't come to my church with your chakras and nothing. So
oh please, like no
another
shade,
conversation.
no sage or anything over here.
No,
But
thank you.
get that under control. Cool down, cool off. Talk to your team, and then, in my professional opinion, and she's a professional, she can give you her opinion, a point of view. Present an actual statement. Don't just
Yeah.
come online and be yelling and the promoter did that. That's unprofessional. I don't care what y'all say. Present a statement
Yeah.
that articulates you apologize at whatever happened.
Yeah.
You apologize, say I'm sorry, even if it wasn't all your fault. Say I'm sorry, you were inconvenienced. I was not able to make it for XYZ reason. Blah. Please check with the tickets or the venue, whatever, to get your money back. And I'm gonna come back and make it up to y'all. And then leave it alone. Turn the comments off, right?
Right. Right.
And leave it alone. And then go figure out what to do next. But when you come in, even if you want the people to see your face, say what you got to say and get off. But if
Right.
you start going off and throwing a promoter under the bus, cussing people out, I don't care what genre you sing is gospel or R&B. It's unprofessional.
Yeah.
And you may think that people think it's okay, but people won't see you the same. And
Yeah.
other promoters will. I'm telling you what I know for sure, because her and I'm sure have dealt with promoters. People will not book you again.
At all.
There were
At all.
people waiting in the wind to do something to book you. They've been saving their coins. They got some sponsors or whatever. They will not. I don't care what no one says at all. They will not book you again. They will call their friends that you didn't know they were their friends, and they will not book you again.
And
Okay,
the
that's
friend
my
won't mind taking the gig.
and
They
the
won't
friend
mind.
won't mind taking the gig.
There's no loyalty in that. So yeah.
Oh,
D
that's
says
good.
niche. Hi niche. D
Honey.
says some of these folks need a good publicist. Folks don't have media training anymore, and that is 1,000,000% correct.
Mhm.
There's
Mhm.
no media training. There's no artist development.
Mhm.
And in gospel is that is just as important, because that's the stuff where, especially now, where we're getting on these major platforms, we're on Good Morning America, and things of that sort, that you need to present yourself as an artist.
Mm.
And it's not
Mm.
just I want to come to your church and scream and minister and then go get my check and go home. That you have to present yourself as a brand, and that is important.
Yes, ma'am.
And,
Yes, ma'am.
and
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think that's something that we just tired of doing chicken dinner business, and we need to do better.
Yeah, and can I say this? Like you can cut me off any time. The presentation too, start to finish. Like
Talk
my mom
about
would say my mom would always say this. You knew you were going to sing at that man's church. Why didn't you put on a dress? And I'm not saying you got to wear a dress, okay? That in real life, Jesus don't care about that. I am saying the presentation though,
presentation.
start to finish. If you know you girls, if you know you couldn't get your hair done, find you a go-to wig that you can just put on that is nice and it's cool and collected. But just wherever you're going, wherever you're dressing, you should dress for the occasion, right? So if you know you're going to sing on TV and you know you're a little thicker in some places, you can't just wear anything on television. Television puts 10 pounds on your body.
Yeah,
So I certainly agree. It's like start to finish. If you're not the nail girl, that's cool, but you shouldn't be on national television unless your nail just broke when you got out the car. You shouldn't be on any TV show, and you got broken nails and your hair not. You got to from start to finish. If you know you're a little bit thicker, you know you got some stuff going on. Put you some body magic on your body, like put a shaper on, dress for the occasion.
right.
Right? I'm not saying you got to wear a dress. I'm just more so, and guys too. Like you didn't have time to go get a haircut, but you knew you.
I don't want to see your taco meat out, and you about to
I
sing
do not.
Jesus to me.
I do not. If you don't
Yeah,
got the kind of body, get that thing together. Your
yeah, honey,
uneven hair, you look dusty.
look
Yeah, like
dusty.
you look dusty. That's not cool. And people say that don't matter. I'm singing for Jesus, or you may be singing for rocks and stars, whatever.
You want to give Jesus? Oh, listen, I just was talking to my mama yesterday about Cain and Abel, and we were talking about the presentation. That's what made the difference, and the heart behind the sacrifice, and that
Wow,
that's what matters. And you talking about giving Jesus your best. That's not your. That's regardless of the audience, right? If you're talking about
regardless of the
your
audience,
best, giving God your best, He deserves your best from head to toe.
absolutely.
So that alone right there that's your ministry right there, is making sure that you're representing Christ well. If that's the case, and
And
the
the
first,
people deserve your best.
yeah,
If
the
people
people,
pay $25, I don't care
yeah.
how much the tickets are. When you come out,
If it's
you should,
free,
if it's free,
I got here to come and see you.
because people
Yeah,
forget it's the people. This is not to say that people can talk to you in a kind of way, treat you in a kind of way. If you didn't feel like taking a picture that day, it's okay. Just there's a way to say that, but also
yeah,
remember, the people. You're nothing really in truth without the people. If they don't stream your music in the day we're in, if they don't stream your music, if they don't click, if they don't download, they don't share, you don't get to share the music. You
right,
right? If they don't come to your church, you don't have nobody to preach to. That doesn't mean people can talk to you and kind of do whatever they want. But I think sometimes people forget. It's the same thing with creators. We can't work for people we don't have any clients. It's the same thing. You can't just treat people any kind of way and
right,
expect them to still come to your concert after you've been late for 20 years.
right. And they
Now,
still
I like
do though.
her,
They
right?
still do.
I like her, but I can tell you for myself. I was in Japan. I had never, let me first say, I love this lady, but this is just the truth. I was in Japan. I had never seen Lauryn Hill live in my whole life. I was in Japan on the other side of the world.
Yeah,
I'm the only black person in the entire building. Right? It was a venue, kind of smaller venue, not too small, but a smaller venue. I'm the only black a person in there outside of her and her people. She was an hour plus late. I take that back. She was 45 minutes to an hour late. I'll give her some grace. She was 45 minutes to hours late. Because I was there working, like I work for this school, and the school is owned by a larger company, and that larger company owns this club, right? They leaned over and they said, Yolanda, is this normal? The level of embarrassment I was
You having to speak for her, this
Speak
person
for
is
her, and
crazy.
I don't even know this lady.
Right.
When she got there, she did apologize. She was not mean or rude, disrespectful. She did apologize. She said she got congested really bad. She sang down. But here we are. That was 8+ years ago.
Yeah.
You're still tardy?
Yeah.
Start to finish. After a while, people don't care how amazing you sing.
And we're getting further and further detached from who you are, though. I saw
Oh yeah.
her essence performance. I said I get it. I understand because it was amazing. But at the same time, it's like, would I have gone in person? No. No. I'm glad I saw it sitting in my living room watching it in
Wow.
Amazon Prime because I would have been mad if she would have been as late as she was. You know what I mean? Like,
Wow.
where does respect come in for me, the audience, who's been
Absolutely.
faithful to you?
Absolutely. And there's no disrespect. I think it's just a I think it's a hard conversation that, in my opinion, really should just be had. I think,
Yeah.
like you said, you have to respect people's time. A good pastor in my hometown once told me, he said, Yolanda, don't ever let someone come bring you to their city and you're late. I said, sir? He just out of nowhere, right? And he said, we used to pick this particular artist up, and no matter how many times she came, the lady was always late. He said, be in the lobby early. Be ready to go when the people call you. Respect their time. Respect their dollar.
Yeah. Yeah. And because that word travels fast too. When it's good, oh, they're always on time. When they're always prompt, when you're professional, that word travels good too. Travels
Yes,
fast
it
as well.
does.
He says she's been through a lot, not too much. I mean, and that's what I was gonna say. Is on the flip side of that, as a creative, I understand when you have them times where you flop, but there's a difference between every now and then and every single time.
Yeah,
You
when
know?
it's just a part of the expectation, I think at this point,
Yeah.
right? When it's
And
just a
what's
part
Brandy?
of, I mean, I've heard, I have my own story, like you heard, but I've heard stories from people I have personal relationship with that have been in amazing moments to sing behind her. They were like, yep. And the time that it happened to them was longer.
Yeah.
For them, it was 10 years ago. It was this many times ago. And it's like,
We've all been through a lot. Do you want
we've
to
all
do
been
this or
through a
not?
lot.
Do you want to do it or not? We all have an excuse or a reason or a crutch or a
Absolutely.
crippling thing, but it's how bad do you want it?
How bad do you want it?
Yeah. Okay. Look, didn't want to
Nobody
end on
said
that note.
nothing. Yes, ma'am.
Well, okay, so we don't end on that note. Let's give. There's Drew. Hey, Drew.
Hi, Drew. Oh, that's what's up. Y'all are up late. That's what it is.
Yeah. Well, and it's West Coast, so some of us. But yeah, like for me, I want to hear if you don't mind,
Sure.
Yolanda. Give us some tips that you have that you would give maybe someone that isn't always consistent in their professional presentation. What would you say? How would you help them to remove that misnomer or remove that reputation because it does travel fast. And even if you're trying to do better, you flop one time, there's people that go around saying, "Well, that person does this, this, and that," and it seems like it just never kind of wants to remove itself from you. What advice would you give to that person?
Are you saying in the sense of professionalism, like your look? Are you saying just
All
all?
around, all around.
I think you have to be okay with who you are, number one, to be very honest with you. Just to be very honest with, I've really struggled, and I'm still working through it with my body type. I was a tall, slender girl. I was a tall, slender little girl until I was 13. And when I became 13, my genes said hello, and my whole body shifted,
Yeah.
literally. Like my mama just didn't know what to do. And she kept trying to like, what was going, and I was this tall girl, and my waist was small, and my chest was not that large, and I had this, like, what they used to call back in the day, the donk, right? And no one knew what to do, and it's taken me years, God, so long, to get to this place, and I still am. working on it every day. So someone say, what does that have to do with artistry? You have to be okay with who you are. You have to be okay with the body God gave you. Now you can always work on the body, right? Whether you however you choose to do it. Mhm. You can always work on the body. But just remember to work on the body for you and not for other people. And you may say, what does that have to do with artistry? Because all that comes out. So I have a really good friend, rest her soul, who had gastric surgery when it first started becoming very popular. And I remember she lost a dramatic amount of weight. She lost, let's say, let's take conversation, 5 dress sizes, if not more than that. Remember, she called me. We were talking one day, and she said, "I did all of that, and he still didn't want me."
Mm.
So it was a very powerful lesson to me that whatever you do, whatever you decide, you have to decide. I just hope this helps somebody. You have to decide to do it for you. If you do it for the people, if you do it for the execs, if you do it for your manager, if you do it to get more sales, you may get more sales temporarily, but that doesn't mean you'll be happy. That's why K Michelle took the things out of her butt. Because it wasn't making her happy. Well, what does that do with artistry? Because all that comes out.
Yeah.
So you got to be okay with who you are. I remember being in dress rooms crying because I didn't want to get a bigger size dress. But the fact is, I needed a bigger size dress. So be okay with who you are. Be okay with who you are. If you're a girl, add shape wear to your life, please. I know people are saying it's cool, and guys are saying I don't mind the extra jiggle. We mind the extra jiggle, okay? So when you're, well, especially if you're a gospel singer, I just always choose. Do I want to jump up and down, or do I want to have the jiggle? I always want to jump up and down. So I just take the longer dress. That's just my personal choice. Nobody else's. My personal choice. And I always wear shapewear. That's how my mom taught me. No matter what. You don't have the budget. Walmart is a great place to start. No shade. It really is.
Yeah.
So presentation. Know where you're going. You can pull me back any moment, Jess. Okay.
Okay.
Know where you're going. When in Rome, you do what the Romans do. If you're going, for example, to a culture church and they may still believe in women not wearing pants, just suck it up. Don't make it a big deal. It's not a big deal. You're only going to be in the dress for like 4 hours. Don't make it a big deal. Find the
Yeah.
dress that you like and you love and have a great time with Jesus. Don't make it a big deal.
Right.
Don't go to the church trying to change what they believe and what they feel. That's not your job. Your job is to come and sing and do whatever God called you to do at that moment if you're singing gospel, right? But even if you do R&B, just knowing the space. It looks kind of crazy. You're going to sing for, I don't know, Kevin Hart's event, and everybody is dressed in cool, black, and you come in with a bright orange dress. you, there's no, and guys too. It's cool to be hip and cool and have your own flavor, but you just gotta know when and where. I don't I go on and on about fashion, but you just gotta know when and where. If it's in your budget, find get a stylist. Maybe you have a friend that dresses really, really nice. Shout out to my friend Naaman. Why when I didn't have a stylist and he said, you gotta stop wearing this. This is not working.
Right.
It's gonna take you shopping today. Find somebody in your neighborhood, in your village, in your city who always dresses nice. They're people, and people say that's not they're not there. That's not true. There's somebody in your city that always has it together. Ask them, can they help you? Maybe you have something to give. Maybe you do graphics. You can barter services, but just you find somebody because you want to always present yourself well. My friend, one of my friends gave me a really good tip and reminded me of something. Study where you're going. So it's gonna be hard to sing, and if you're trying to sing a bunch of hymns, but you're going to a CCM church, it may not work, right? Or if you're going to an R&B venue and you're trying to sing Beyonce's new country song, it's not gonna work. So
No.
know the venue, study, find out where you're going, find out what works in that place. You don't have to do something that's not you, but you have to know what's going on. The ability to flow in the moment. You got to always know what the moment calls for. The moment may be calling for him, but if all you know are CCM songs, you're gonna be lost.
Yeah.
So it's important to dump other music inside you. Leandria Johnson is very amazing at that. She can pull out anything, anywhere. That's because she has a whole lot of music inside her. I could go on and on and on. But
Yeah.
be accountable, right? We were talking about these artists being late. If you were late, just admit that you were late. Accept responsibility for what happened. Apologize and ask how you can make it right.
Right.
Blaming people, cussing people out, I don't care what y'all say, it's nothing to do with Jesus. It's not professional. Blaming people, cussing people out, going off, telling people how you gonna do what you gonna do. No one cares. Please. Something else could think. Stay out of stuff that's not your business.
And be
Listen,
careful commenting on Larry Reed's and stuff like that. Be careful commenting on that stuff.
be still careful. If you don't know all the parts,
Yeah.
I did I don't want to say that something that happened with an artist again over this weekend. I saw several people from their village. That's a good way to say that. Saying, "Oh, they're never like that. They're never like this." Let me just help you. There are billions of people in the world, and I'm not saying how you feel, is insignificant. I'm just saying you commenting and going off about your favorite person and how you know they're not like that. That's not going to change what happened. Right? So getting in social media fights with people that you're never going to meet in your whole life is a waste of your time. If you are an artist, there are bigger things that you should focus on.
Yeah.
Right? Some people can take the heat, and this is no shade because I really like this guy. Tyrese may be able to take the heat. You may not be able to. He can say
Right.
whatever he's gonna say and go off and be with his family. You may not have that same skin. So it's just not worth it. I could go on. Just
Yeah.
stay out of it. Stay
Yeah.
out of it. It's the other thing. Watch what you post. Like you don't think we know that you posted that or
I see
that you
it.
like that. Especially if you're a gospel artist. I know people don't like this kind of gospel. Whatever it is that you like and you like to do, that's your business. But we don't all need to know what you like and what you do. Right? Some people I don't know, there's something that I do talk about Jodeci a lot. But I'm not going to share when I'm up about to sing that I love Jodeci. Right?
Forever, my Jesus. No.
Right. Like it just starts coming out. So I think some of us need to be more cognizant about what we get ourselves involved in, what conversations we're involved in. Some of y'all are in these blogs. I feel like my mom, I'm sorry. Some of y'all in these blogs and you need to come out. You don't think it makes a difference.
It does.
But I promise you, your pastor saw you.
Yeah. Or even
Like
just
you
a
may
neutral
not, you know what I'm
pastor, just
saying?
a fan. If I see you say something crazy, I'm like, oh, okay. Or I see you like something that, oh, okay,
Oh, okay. You didn't
Or
know that.
even this, if I seen you like it and nothing worth judging, but I see you condemning somebody and I saw you like it, I'm gonna look at you crazy. Because I've seen that too, where you're contradicting yourself here when you telling me don't do it, but I see you doing this. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
everything is not a fight. Everything is. Let me say this because I think he has really, really tough skin. If he ever sees this, I love this guy. I love Kirk Franklin, but Kirk Franklin has been Kirk Franklin for a very long time.
yeah,
So y'all mad because he did X, Y, and Z. That's not gonna change him from dancing around like James Brown. Ain't nothing you
no,
can do. So
no,
you feeling some kind of way because you really want to be like that too? That's really the problem. Stay
yeah,
out of that stuff. Some things. Okay, I feel like I'm going on a tangent, but that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to help you. Some
yeah,
things are not worth it. You in his comments going off about what you think he should have did is not going to change that he did it. He has been this way for 25 billion years.
he worked hard for those arms. First of all, okay.
I'm
And if
not
you want
mad. And
to
why are we not excited that he's taking care of himself?
exactly, he looked good.
He look
He's a 50
good.
year old man. Yeah,
Right? He's 50 something years old and still.
yeah,
And so, Yolanda, what's your point? You just going on? No, I'm just saying be cognizant.
yeah,
You don't think it's working you out of a deal, but you don't know that Donald Lawrence saw your comment.
yeah. I wouldn't work with her because
and I
you might
wouldn't work
not
with
ever
him.
even hear about what happened.
You'll never. I promise you.
Yeah,
People like Donald Lawrence. I'm not, I'm just saying respectfully, sir. I love you. People like Donald Lawrence are very chill. They don't like controversy. They don't want to be involved in controversy. You may say it's a big deal. I didn't want to work with Donald, but you want to work with Tank. And you don't know that Tank respects Kirk Franklin. See? You don't think all those worlds collide.
they do. They
So when
really.
you're bashing, I'll just pick a random person, but they know I love them. When you're bashing John P. Key, I'm not saying anybody did, right? That's not
Look,
a
I
case
was
that
like,
you want to
I
mess with,
never.
actually.
Look,
But I'm saying you don't think it's a big deal, but you don't know that Tank used to sing with John P. Key. You
I
don't
just,
know your homework.
yeah,
So when you're saying, I'm just saying a lot of us sometimes are saying things. There's just a lot of stuff just that I stay out of. Everybody know that about me. I just stay out. Why don't I just stay out? Because you'll be talking. I remember one time I went to an event. I went to a live recording one time, and I was telling the person that brought me to the live recording, um, I was like, "Oh, that man look kind of funny up there." He said, "You do know that?" He said, "Yeah, that's his brother." The man that I was making fun of, it was the artist that was doing the live recording. It was his brother.
mm,
I didn't even know. I was shut down in like less than 5 seconds. So I go on.
yeah. Just got to be careful about what you say and how you say it, because word travels
Yeah.
fast.
Word travels fast. I mean, we could talk all night. I'm keep it good. I'm just telling y'all, word
It's,
travels fast out here, and this goes for creatives too.
oh yeah, yeah. Because there's
That's
things
it's.
you'll
I
hear
feel like
about
it's.
certain people that
Yeah,
you'd be surprised. Yeah,
yeah. You'd be surprised who knows who and who got. I'm sure Jess learns this every day. You'd be surprised who has relationship with who knows who. I work for pastors, and I'd be like, you know who? Oh yeah, me and I've been friends with them for 30 years. And they
yeah,
just don't, because they're okay with who they are, so they don't have to go on social media and tell you the X, Y, and Z person is their friend. I do work for a wonderful pastor in New Mexico. He's always telling me, "Oh yeah, 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 they were a member of my church since they were a kid." Huh? What?
right.
These heavyweight names, people that you would never think, and because again, the world is much. I feel like I'm going to tangent, but that's not my goal. I'm just trying to help somebody understand. Stop talking.
It's important. That's important.
It's important. And it's not that your opinion doesn't matter. You just got to know when to give your opinion. Like you'll talk yourself out of a job, right?
Yeah, because you can give too much of an opinion. Like, all right, know when to shut up. You say your piece and leave it at that. Use
And leave
wisdom.
it at that. Because
See,
people sometimes have already made up their mind.
yeah,
Right. What I love, I mean, I was really even like the Kurt Franklin thing that happened like a week or so ago, and people were, oh, he should have wore. I was like, dang, this guy, like, leave this dude
he's
alone.
in Jamaica.
He's in Jamaica where it's 1,000 degrees, and I
Performing.
did comment. I'm honest, right? But I do try to eat my own medicine. I'm like, he's been like this so long, and then here come the comments. You're just trying to cover up for him. How? So to go back and forth is just a waste.
Because the truth of the matter is, the only thing you mad at is that he looks good.
He's gyrating.
I'm gonna
Well,
still sing melodies from heaven. I'm gonna still sing it.
I'm gonna still sing it. He's gyrating. I don't know if he's gyrating, but if he's gyrating, he's been gyrating for 85 years. I mean, like at this point, what are you gonna do?
Right. Don't go to the next show.
Don't go. Right? We just get caught up in things. So I could go on and on.
Yeah. I think it's just people that are afraid of change, or that they think that that's the devil creeping in. You let that happen, and then this is gonna happen, and then this is gonna happen. I think that discernment is also something that is needed. Like,
Oh,
this.
absolutely. And hmm, I don't think the enemy comes in ways that we think he does. Actually, right? The Bible talks about. I don't feel like I'm not the best Bible scholar all the time, but the Bible talks about like he's sneaky, he's
Yeah,
divisive. Wouldn't it
cunning.
be too easy for him to come in? like through this door, Kurt Franklin. I just think that's too easy.
Right.
Instead of coming through the door of X, Y, and Z space.
If I wanted to lust because I was looking at Kurt Franklin's arms, I already wanted to lust.
I already wanted to
Because no offense, he don't do it for me. So I don't. If I wanted to, be like, oh, I'm lusting, because and Kirk was the one that was the catalyst that took me to my whole phase. Like that's not
I
that's
think
not
you
gonna
can list over somebody. What's her name? Tammy. Haddon said this
happen.
one time, which I love her.
Me
She
too.
said, "If I'm causing you to lust, there's already a certain problem." Now, to be fair, should you be up in in the sense of like gospel music, worship, church? Should you be up and your dress is like super open, like just woo, can't breathe? No, I'm not suggesting that. But I think if you're gonna lust over something, you just the girl can have on a dress down to her ankles, and the only thing she has on sandals, and you have a foot fetish.
And you just freaky.
The
You
dude
need to
can
go
have
to
on the
the
suit that's
altar
fitted correctly and is right, and you just it's. I agree with you. It was already there.
because there was
That
good
was something you
goodness
already desired, right? Like don't make it seem
in
like,
this
oh my
outfit.
god, huh?
I said he was looking good in this suit. I ain't gonna lie, and I
He
had
was
to.
looking fantastic. Should
Yeah,
But this is my thing. Shouldn't he?
yeah.
That's a big other thing in gospel music that I kind of don't understand. Like, why do we want? Do you know how many people we've lost from bad health?
There's
Why do
that.
why do we why are we not excited that he's taking care of himself and has for a long time? But why are we not excited that he's like, oh, he must be, he's going to the gym, he's eating right, he's talking about I don't get the whole, wanting people to be out of shape, and you know we feel better if they're 300 pounds, or I just, this is just me personally, I think it's weird.
As people's flesh is not under control, and they have
Just say
excuses.
that.
That's what it really is. That's what
Nah,
it
just say
really
that.
is. Okay, so thank you so much. This has
You're
been an
welcome so much.
amazing conversation.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm honored.
I do have 3 segments that we're going to get over them real quick. So,
Sure.
what I do, I like to ask my guests for a brand that they think is dope. So, here's my first segment. That's dope. Ouch, hit my hand. That hurt. And so, who was your dope?
Oh, I don't know. I think a lot of people are dope, right? So I'm gonna just list out some people. A brand that I think is dope. I don't. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know. Disney. Disney is just incredible. They're always consistent. Just so many things that Disney does well. I mean, it's not perfect, but I think the consistency over the years, they've had the same logo since before, Jesus took place. I mean, they're just amazing. But some personal brands I love, like a lot of creatives like you, Larico, Drew. I just think Drew is just so incredible. Drew, Jalen, she can post a dot and we're like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, Jared is one of my favorite people. Jared Harrison, just he does great work. There's a lot of things I think are dope because I love consistency. I love when people try new things. So yeah, Disney will probably be my, like, it's a huge brand, but it'll probably be, you know, something I think is really dope.
Okay. So, my next is Nope, which is a brand or something about things trends you've seen that you think are is whack, you need to get rid of it or up level it or do better.
Respectfully, I say I don't dislike Canva as much as I used to. It is on my phone. I do use. I was telling somebody, I use it every day for when I have to do scripture posts or something like that. But I think it's not a nope. It's that it's not a end. It's not a save all.
No.
There are a lot of things that you cannot do in Canva. Now, I will say the woman is constantly upgrading herself, which I think should, without going too far, should be a sign for a lot of creators, including myself, because she is constantly upgrading. I say she because the company is owned by a woman.
Well, yeah,
which what I think is amazing. But there's still a lot of things you cannot do. There's still a lot of things you cannot. There's just a lot of parts so it's not a nope. It's just like it's not an end all be all,
right.
right? And so just because I've heard people say, well, I could have done that myself in Canva. Okay,
No, you couldn't have.
it's not the same.
If you had every single thing I had, you still couldn't.
Yeah, because if some I'll give this example, right, which just knows if you can, I have seen you can push up the resolution. But if a company, older companies which still exist, if a company says I need this in a CMYK, first of all, you got to know what a CMYK is.
Right.
So if they ask for the EPS file or they ask for something in CMYK, which people may not ask for CMYK as you may be noticing as much, but companies will ask you for the EPS file. You're gonna be
Mm.
jacked up. And you watching this and you saying, well, I don't know what EPS is.
Or
If
the
you're a
AI.
client, I don't expect you to know that. If you're a
Right.
creative and you don't know that, you already have another problem.
Hmm. Yeah. They're still very professional level standard
Mm-hmm.
that Canva just does not have yet. And I
Nope.
want to say this, and it's not being a hater, because there's a girl I love. I think her name is Social Docs. Social
Yep,
Docs is
yep,
dope.
yep. She's dope.
Dope. But that's because she was already a designer. She is showing you
Oh, tell that part.
that the creativity of what she already has. There's another young lady that I follow, Rose Red, Rochelle Sodipo. Dope. She did some stuff in Canva too, but I'm like, you guys, y'all are already designers and had been for years. So that
Mm-hmm.
kind of gives, like, in a way, a false sense of hope that you can do just like I do, because it's not.
It's
That's
not
not
the
the case.
same. You have to
It's
have
not,
the eye. And if
yeah,
you don't have the eye, then a client. I love this guy. He always told me I had an eye God. Well, thank God for that. But if you don't have the eye,
it's not
you
going to work for you.
you're gonna be. We all started this way. Without me going too far and too long, because we are level we could talk about it all night. When you don't have the eye, we all started this way. Use 5 different fonts. None of the fonts go together. None of them make sense.
Yeah,
Right? But as you grow, you learn that you don't need all of that. You should only have, she can correct me and tell me if I'm right. You should only have a minimum of 3 different kind of fonts.
okay. Yeah,
Something that's kind of a header, something maybe add a little bit to it. This is not the correct verbiage way you say it. Something add a little bit to it, and something like a subtext, just with all the information. But you got 25 different fonts. Like, nobody can read that. It's a lot going on, or the pictures are badly cut. That's the other thing. You can't fade. You can't like use a brush to fade up or out. You can't do any of that in Canva.
no.
Let me tell you.
Unless you know how to use those tools, and even then, you're still limited.
Yep, and you can still have Photoshop and still come up with the same stuff
Right,
if you don't know what you're doing.
right, right. So, if in any part of it, I feel like you need to learn your craft. If you're going to be a designer,
Absolutely.
my son designs in Canva, but I tell him, no, you're going to learn Photoshop. You're going to learn the Adobe Suite, because that's the industry standard.
That's the industry
That's no
standard.
brainer. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
because if somebody's making $10,000 off of Canva projects, I'm worried. I'm concerned. So,
I'm just saying how.
yeah, more than likely, it's because they already had the design eye.
You already had the design.
Yeah. So there's one last one, and I would say it's a brand you want somebody to know about.
I don't know. I thought you had a third question. What brand could be better? Was that your second question?
Yeah, that was Nope. The third would be somebody putting us onto. It could be an artist, it could be whatever. Clothes, whatever.
Okay, so I want to answer your question again, though. There is another brand that I want to say this very respectfully when I say this, because it's no shade, because I'm a part of it. I think, maybe you can mute this out later. I think the Stellars could improve. I think the Stellars, I say this very respectfully. I think the brand of the Stellars, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, or at least live, but I think it could improve. I don't think it's terrible. But I think gospel music is way too incredible to present anything less but excellence. And I think there are some brands that need to push up so we can reach up further. That's a good way to say that. some things need to push up, right? So, in my opinion, when I see Disney, it's always pushing for more. It's always pushing up, and I think some of us, and me included, need to push up. And so, I just think the standard needs to be pushed up.
I definitely agree. I will also say I think that they are just kind of knowing the couple things I know, they are working on up leveling and that they do have.
Yay!
So hopefully that does we do see that standard definitely raised. But I do agree with you that just even not even the Stellars, but like all the other smaller awards that are in
Yes,
gospel, that there is should
yes,
be a standard
it should
that
be a
is,
standard.
yeah, if you want to keep our attention like a Grammys would, like a
Mhm,
BET Awards
mhm,
would,
mhm,
we
mhm.
need to up level in that regard.
Yeah, and I said this last part, answer your third question, then we can close. And you have to be consistent. I always say this: the Grammys never stop talking. They
Oh,
may not talk every minute of the day, but they don't go weeks without talking. And what I
right.
mean by talking, they don't go weeks without sharing some information. It's like today is Stevie Wonder's birthday. How come we haven't seen stuff everywhere? Right? Do we get so used to it we just act like it's not a big deal anymore? So I'm saying that they constantly providing information, tips, facts. This happened when Michael Jackson. Shout out to Jodeci, who's completely like been just elevating their whole brand. So they'll drop that it's the 25th year of such and such song. It's just a level of consistency will be nice with a lot of the brands.
Yeah.
um, and the last question you want to ask me, somebody to spotlight. So I have actually one spotlight myself. I have a company called Love Fetish, and I'm really trying to upgrade Love Fetish, so Love Fetish accessories, and so I talked about it publicly much, but I'm going to be selling lashes now. So we're going to be offering. I won't say selling. We're going to be offering lashes now. The lashes are in theme of my mom and my aunties.
Oh,
And so something I wanted to do to pay homage to them because they're diva girls. Also, Love Fetish. Let's see another great brand I think is dope. Again, I always talk about Jared. He's really incredible. I don't know. I can't think like just somebody. Of course, I'm a Kevin Lemons and Higher Calling member, so Kevin Lemons and Higher Calling. An artist that I think is really dope. I do a lot of Michelle Prather. She's a really great artist, singer. There's just a lot of great people that are. That's who. There's a guy named John Walker.
hmm.
John Walker is an artist in New Orleans. He just started the first and only. It might not be the first, but he is the only person to have a youth choir in the city of New Orleans.
Hmm.
He has a community choir in the city of New Orleans, and he is doing a really good job. So
Do you know
somebody,
the name of the choir?
the name of the choir is called New. I'm almost sure they're called New Nation.
Oh, I think I've seen that.
Hmm.
I think.
New Nation Choir. That's what it's called, New Nation Choir. And so I thought that was really amazing. He's the only youth choir entity in the city. He's actually a music school teacher. And he's doing some really amazing things in the city of New Orleans.
Yeah, I want to real quick because look, you're right. We can talk about this because I wanted to pack that back on what you were saying about learning through music and that there are some kids. I'm one of those kids that they try to say I had ADD, which I do
Hmm.
believe to a degree. Yeah, but I think also I just wasn't challenged, and I also think that I
Some
wasn't
talent.
given creative opportunity to learn, and that there
Wow.
are many children that I feel like they want to diagnose with some disorder or something in disarray when the reality of this is they just learn differently,
We just
or
learn differently.
yeah, everybody is not meant to follow that same educational standard. So
No.
I do think there's importance to having youth choirs and youth dance troops and youth acting troops and things of that sort because that's how our kids learn. That might be their outlet where they might come back to school and something they've learned in that group, they bring it back to school. Or maybe, now that they've gotten their creative prowess, they've gotten, their creative release, then they can come back and focus a little bit better because it's not just weighing on them. If you understand when she says she has so much music in her, if you understand what that really is like to hear music all the time in your head,
God,
to hear,
I know. You just relieved me. I'm glad I'm not the only one. It's
oh
like I wake
no,
up in the morning like a radio, like, oh, why am I hearing this music?
I
Yep, there
wake up to songs, go to bed to songs.
is
One time, my friends and I were sitting in a hotel room listening to the air, trying to find what key the air was blowing in, and found it. So you know what I'm saying, like that kind of stuff. People might not get that all the time, but they're, number one, get around people that do understand that. And then
Yes,
number two, we do need to provide more sources and resources for children that learn that way. And I bet you that scores would look differently. And I don't mean
yes.
like putting kids in letting them be rappers because that's the way out of the ghetto. I don't That's not what I'm saying. Help children to understand if they are creative kids, and you can catch it early. I have nephews. My little nephew could be on pitch at 1 years old, singing, matching my notes. You know what I mean? You can tell early on. So I feel like those things are very necessary, and that I think that also helps that reverence to the past is by understanding
Absolutely.
what it is. Because that's another part is I feel like half these kids don't even like if one more person uses "Speak to My Heart" as a sample, like it's cool, but there's other songs. There's other people you need to know about. There's other hymns. There's things that if you don't go and look for it, if you don't have the desire to look for it, it's not going to come to you.
I
Uh,
just don't think they're given the education. I don't think they're.
no.
Can you imagine 17 years old, 16, I was 16 and 17, and you're sitting across and your teacher's crying and your parents are kind of like, why's the old lady crying? And she's like, we missed it. And I'm like, huh? And this is the truth, but the sad part about my story is nothing changed after that.
Yeah, they
Nothing
didn't know what to
became
do.
different.
They don't know
They
what
don't
to
know
do.
what to do.
Yeah,
So how are you saying, and this is no shade, but how are you saying, how are you communicating we should have did this for her and then nothing happens? And then as an adult, you're still, I people don't I still I should have never been in special education, but I still sometimes I still struggle with spelling. Sometimes I still struggle with that. Like I have to be very intentional about reading. I'm just being like real transparent. It has to be intentional. Yeah, I can sing and I can do X, Y, and Z, but sometimes the learning part is not as always simple. So imagine if all my life music would have been applied to my learning. How did I learn to count to 10 in Spanish? Sesame Street.
uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco,
Squato.
seis.
Now,
Yeah.
how do I remember that song?
Right, because it's a song. Yeah,
Because it's a song, right? So I learned how to shout out to Miss Maria on Sesame Street. I
yeah.
learned how to count. I always tell people I learned how to count to 10 watching Sesame Street.
Or 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
9,
10,
10, 11,
11, 12.
12. How did
Yeah.
watch it. You know what I'm saying? So they applied. There was a very smart, and people don't know that Sesame Street was actually created for Black kids. It was created for kids in the urban community, right? And so whoever had this idea got it. They understood. But all this time, I could learn dozens and dozens and dozens of songs. But math, I struggled. But what if math would have been applied? Music would have been applied to my learning in math or history or science or
Right.
these spaces and places. But people just feel like you're not getting it like the rest of the kids. And so, I always tell my story because I found people have kids are in these spaces. There are kids in these spaces that don't know what to do. And I've heard so many stories about people dropping out of school or this or this or that. And I like one of my friends just told me they dropped out. They dropped out of school. It just became, but what if all along they could have made it through if there were other ways for them to learn? It's just
Right.
not a one lane thing. It's everybody can't be on the same highway.
Yeah.
It has to come out differently. So yeah, it sucks, but I'm grateful for my story. But it I just wish that people really got that. Kids learn differently. No kid learns the same. So people say your kid has ADD. They may or they may not, but it could be that your kid just doesn't learn it that way.
Right. And just all of us all of a sudden got it. There's something that's telling me somebody fell short
That doesn't
somewhere.
make
Somebody dropped
sense.
the ball. And
Yeah.
there's a whole group of adults, a whole generation of adults who have had to kind of learn how to walk with a crutch.
all
So
their
yeah,
life.
yeah,
Wow. This has
yeah,
been great, Jess. Thank you for having
mm,
me. I want to
absolutely.
take too much. Uh-huh. Thank
Mm,
you for having me. I'm really grateful for opportunity.
absolutely. And like like I said, I've always been inspired. I've been inspired. I appreciate you very much. Even if you don't know, thank you for staying consistent even when you didn't feel like it, because there was people watching you that needed to see that same consistency.
Wow.
So I appreciate
Thank
that.
you. Yeah, it's not easy, but man, I love what I do.
Yeah.
Even when I don't love what I do. You get it, right? I love what I do even when I don't love it. But
Yeah,
I'm
that's who I
grateful.
gotta do it with. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm grateful, and I said something earlier. I do want to. This is my last thought. Yes, there has been inappropriate behavior. Somebody could say, "Why don't you ever tell it?" Or why? Because you know what? Some stories, it's not that I don't think I'm valuable. Hmm, okay, when you get ready to tell certain things, you have to deal with everything that comes with it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I don't want to any because we don't know who's gonna see this at what point and what time. I'm not suggesting you shouldn't tell your story. I'm just saying that for me, no one has ever they've been inappropriate, but no one has ever, at least not as an adult. Nobody has ever touched me. Thank God I've never been raped, anything of that capacity. Nobody's ever rubbed me up against a building or something like that. They may have wanted to, they didn't. But there are things that I could still, some just inappropriate things that have been said. But I also think this is again why you need a village, therapy, and you can deal with those things in those spaces and you can talk about it as you feel led or comfortable. But I also believe in the day we're in, if I were to come out right now and say X, Y, and Z thing happened, there's a whole truckload of things that come with it.
Hmm.
And you have to be prepared for people to call you a liar, to say this and this and that about you, and you just got to choose which one you want. That doesn't mean I don't think I'm valuable or I don't matter. And I'm not saying to any other women, if someone has crossed the line with you, that you should not speak your truth. You should. But just understand at the same token, there's a lot that comes with that.
Right.
You have to be willing to take what comes with it, good or bad. I hope I
Right.
make sense.
Yeah. And if you decide it is, just stand on 10 toes.
Stand on 10 toes.
Yeah. And get it, and don't be afraid, because there's somebody that does need to hear it.
Yeah,
For
somebody needs to hear your story. I just think for me, again, so is again, because I don't want to put the wrong thing out. I just know that there's things that all come with that. It comes with good and it comes with bad. That's because
Yeah.
I'll tell anybody any day. I was molested as a child. The man is he's probably no longer in the earth. I was molested as a child. It was a very traumatic situation. I don't remember when I was 6. Right. I don't remember being 7. Kinda. There's just certain, yes, I can talk about it because I can deal with what comes with it. Whatever people may think or whatever, I can deal with that. Um, but sometimes other spaces you just have to know when and where to tell your story.
Indeed.
You have to use wisdom.
Indeed. For sure. For sure. And I even thank you for even that part. Thank you for being open enough to even say that, because you don't know, you talking to me about some stuff that you don't realize you're
Wow.
talking to me about. So I appreciate you very much.
Yeah, you can overcome. I want to start just really, really keeping long and say this. You can overcome anything you make the decision to overcome. Sunday, I could have my mother passed away in September. Sunday, I could have been in a corner. I could have shut down. I could have said I wasn't going to church. I wasn't going to do anything. But when she passed, I made a decision that every Sunday morning I would find myself at church. And that's whether I'm going in with no makeup on and hat on my head. But I just made a decision. It's no disrespect to anybody else. It's just what I personally, Yolanda, decided to do. And
Yeah.
Sunday, I made a decision when I saw a post when someone said they hadn't been to church in years, on Mother's Day, particularly. I just made a decision. I'm going to get up. I'm going to get dressed. I'm going to be at rehearsal for sound check. And I'm going to be here and I'm going to sing. And then I'm going to get my nails done. I'm going to go to the movies. And I just made a decision. happiness and is a decision. Doesn't mean I don't miss her. It doesn't mean anything of that nature. It just means I made a decision. And you have to make a decision to overcome. You're overcome by the words of your testimony. You have
Yeah.
to make a decision. I could live in the fact that I was molested, special, educational struggles. I've been molested by other people up into my teen years. I could make the decision that I'm gonna be a drug addict, that I'm gonna be a prostitute, whatever comes, whatever spaces, right?
Mm.
It's just not the choice I'm willing to make. Oh, thank you God for that. It's just not. I could have committed suicide. And I'll be lying today. I've never said this out loud. I'll be lying if I tell you I never thought about it. But I don't want my sister to have to explain to my niece what happened.
Right.
I think it's just me respectfully. I think that's unfair. So you have to make a decision every single freaking day that you're going to live. I could live in the fact that someone stole my childhood. So the reason why I love Disney so much, again, you can stop me at any point. I've never said this out loud before, is because at night they were still in my childhood. They were still in my innocence. And in the day they turned on Disney.
Mm.
And so Disney saved my life. Someone said to me, I think Disney saved your life. What? Because that was the only innocent thing I could have. So the truth is, it's a blessing because I could see Disney, I could see Mickey and totally hate the whole entity, right? But there's something very beautiful about it that I love.
Same.
So you make a choice. I choose to be an overcomer. I choose not to live there. It happened. It sucks. It was unfortunate. It wasn't my fault. So something happened to you. You're watching. Something happened. Whoever. It's not your fault. It was them. It was their stuff. It was their. It was their devices. It was their. It was their stuff. It was their demons. It was their past. It was their stuff. It wasn't you. It was their, and it was their choice. No matter what happened to you, it was still their choice to take advantage of that space. But you don't have to live there anymore. You can choose to get therapy. You can choose to let God heal you, and you
Yeah.
can choose to live
That's why I like the Potter's house. You don't have to stay.
in the
And you
shape that you're in.
stay. Now I'm gonna start crying, Yolanda. Thanks.
Okay, I'm done.
Well, I'm gonna wrap this up. Thank you so much, Yolanda,
Well,
so much for this. The full circle moment, and just even God speaking to my heart about moving forward. I appreciate you. You don't know, God used you. So
I'm honored.
indeed. Okay, well, thank you very much, Yolanda. Thank you all to all of you that have stayed on. We've been on a whole extra hour, try to cut it to an hour, but this was an extremely, I told you it was going to be a good conversation. So if you're seeing this on the replay, put hashtag replay in the comments, share this. Somebody might need to hear this that doesn't know myself or Yolanda, that might need to hear some of the things that were discussed in this conversation. And so if you just share it, it's not just for me to who get views. That's one thing, but for number one, God to be glorified, and number two, for someone to be healed or to be transformed by conversation and by testimony. That's empower. That's the most important thing to me. That's what's dope to me. And so next week I have a very special guest. He is my best friend. He is a producer. He's a musician. He's worked with Ti, with Faith Evans, with he just got a platinum song with or his song was a part of a platinum album with Eric Bellinger. No, sorry, Jason Derulo. I'm so sorry. See, it's just so many. He's also the founder of Culture House. He is very wise, very forward thinking, someone that you definitely want to hear some information from. King Vejan Hill will be my guest next week, and I'm so excited to have him. And I think that this also is going to be another conversation. And honestly, I just feel like the more I have these conversations, the more the Lord is showing me what this is all about. And so I'm definitely grateful. So if you could do me a favor and follow me on my socials on Instagram, JMake Creative is just.b.dope. And on Facebook, it is at JMake Creative. And I'm going to have some things, some freebies, some classes, some things that I'm working on that I will have available. And like I said, Dope Sessions was meant to uh, be for strategy for helping those that need help with their branding or with brand development. So if you are looking to have a dope session of your own, go ahead and inbox me on Facebook, on Instagram, or whatever, and I will answer you and we can get something together. Okay, with that being said, I will see you all next week. Thank you so much again, Yolanda. I hope to have you on again. And if anything and if nothing else, just be dope. All right.